Well, in the quest of will they want the championship, we have come full circle, 3 of 3 thus far here today. And we join you from a very wet Imola, or a track that is greasy, in fact, that is slowly becoming wet. All the drivers out there on the track now watching the impending weather. The session started in the dry. It is quickly gone to greasy. It's only going to deteriorate. These laps are of utmost importance. It's one-shot qualifying for anyone who's ever done a qualifying session like that. Going to be tough. Hello, everybody. I'm Jesse Lee, joined by Ash Bibby on the cameras today, and it's just the two of us flying. The two of us out here. So if it is and welcome back to what has been a very wet qualifying session here at Imola. Just going to go ahead and restart the stream. 3 weeks, we have said maybe there'll be a stream, maybe there won't be one. There has been one, 3 for 3 this time. You cannot fault the broadcast department's dedication to bringing you live action here on RCI TV. Hello, everybody. I'm Jesse Lee, joined by Ash Bibby and Cormac Malloy, who are bringing you the pictures for this broadcast. And it has been a wet qualifying session, a one-shot qualifying session, if you will. That was the only lap that mattered. The rain started to come down. They only got heavier, so the first lap was the quickest. The two cars on track right now, Kevin Boston and Tom Shipston, they're just getting a little wet weather practice just in case when the session rolls over to the race that this is the weather they have they will be more prepared. They're treating this as an additional free practice. Jordan Daly has taken the pole position. It's a 53.207. That is 8/1000ths quicker than Romaniuk, who is P2, sitting on the opposite side of the front row. Eli Poe in the 69 Mercedes, a 208, and John Arazer, who looked to be the quickest car out there in practice, didn't quite get the lap that they were hoping for. They will start on the second row. Duard, Goat, Edwards, Redford, Silva, Whittle is your top 10. And this man, Kevin Boss for Wheelie Slow, he's with us on the grid today. He's not wheelie slow, folks. He's on pole position in the silver class in his first go in the Audi of all things. Tom Shipston P2 in the Hot Wheels looking number 60 Chevy, and it is Varga in the 508 BMW. That completes the silver podium. Folks, thank you so much for hanging out with us and bearing with us as we sort out some of the technical gremlins behind the scenes. Of course, we are watching chat as we always are. Let's take a look at some of the things chat's saying earlier on. Joe Dauber egging people on. You love to see that. Mike Redford unamused by his qualifying effort. Cars apparently getting in the way. Joe Dauber again asking, do we expect carnage this week? Do you know what? I don't think it is. I don't think we will be expecting that sort of carnage from a week ago. I think it's going to be a lot chiller here tonight, or at least I hope it is. Jay Bubbins talking about Night Owl already. Looking forward to that. A showdown with a couple of the folks you see producing the stream. Wouldn't that be quite fun to see as well? Look at this show off with his magnificent cameras in the air hole in the car for Tom Shipston. Ground Zero Racing. Yeah, not actually out there trying to improve their lap. That's not the point. The point is to get practice for the race. Cormac, let's take a look at the man under the helmet. What do you say? Oh no, how did you do that? How did you reverse out of the driver's side hole? How did you do that? That is absolutely insane. He went in the passenger side and then 180 no-scoped out the other side. Insane. Oh my God. The Drone League, the Major League Drone Racing, better be happy that you have better things to do than be a drone racer professionally, because that was insane. Here are the results of qualifying. Here is, well, exactly what we expected. Boss, Shipston, and Varga are the podium in silver. DeBont may take that car out to start with. If he doesn't, of course, we will see him at some time. The same case with Hardup and Radu, who qualified P7. This is a team champ after all. It's more about the team than the individual drivers. They are afforded a opportunity to drive as a team. Several have. Azir Goat and Calamari. And you've got the Whiffles in the same car as well. Varga and DeBont, as we said earlier. A lot of the drivers, of course, solo. Here is how the sector times stacked up. It was a quickest of all sectors 1 and 2 for Jordan Daly, and that 53.207 good enough for pole. Romaniuk did take the quickest third sector of all in their route to P2, 8/1000ths difference there. And that sector time by Daly shows me one thing. He messed up in sector 3. I'm sure he'd tell you that himself if you consider both second and third place quicker than him in that sector. All it takes, folks, is a little bit of a wiggle. Of course, it is round number 3 of the championship. That means that we're well aware and well away in the series. We have some standings for you. We'll show you how they've stacked up thus far in the series. Here it is, the Porcelain Racing 229. The Mercedes has 42 points to their name. Triple R 197 with 40 points. The G League Esports 23 tied with RRP, that's Racing Team Solvalu, with 34 points. Behind them in 5th place, the Runa Rossa Racing Team on 30. The 699 Racing team with 26 points in S Racing, tied with the 313 Simulation Esports team with 23 apiece. Rebound Racing on 20, and the green team EV rounds out your top 10 with 18 points. Outside of the top 10, of course, you've got Race Ventura on 18. Steady Start Racing Blue tied with Whittle's Wizards. I'm still surprised I've never messed that up, with 16 points apiece for 12. The Buffalo Stampede on 8. And Rebound Racing, I believe that's Carlos Caladian behind the wheel of that car. They're live. Moving on to the pro category, or excuse me, the silver category. We have Ground Zero Racing on 42 points, a tie between Wheelie Slow and RPMS SimSport on 34 apiece, dropping the Hammer Racing in fourth place with 30, Team Monkey Racing and Squadra Corsa tied with 23 points, the 7-4 Simulation Esports team on 20, the QV Motorsports Aero tied with McFly RPMS SimSport with 18. Everybody else has retired from the championship. And folks, if you're out there wondering, Jesse, how is it possible we ran 2 races and they only have 40 some points? That's because this championship features a drop round. The worst of the 6 finishes for any team will be omitted from the final results. Certainly a couple of teams have used that drop round on the second race of the season. Now, Race Ventura had a quite horrible round as well, but actually, no, think about it. Most of the teams, I've just realized, have used that on round number 1, but Triple R, of course, 11th place in round number 2 at Brands Hatch. It was a fraud affair. 12 or so post-race stewarding reports, no live stewarding, of course. It was a lot to get through, according to the stewards I talked to during the week. Many penalties handed out. I don't have specific information on that, but, well, if I'm completely honest with you, watching the broadcast, it was sort of obvious when a penalty was required. A lot of elbows out racing in that one. Hopefully a little bit more calm today. The rain has subsided. It is mostly cloudy. The track is not fully optimum, just fast, 30 degrees C with a little bit of a crosswind here down the pit straight. Now, that's a slightly concerning, folks, because it's already mostly cloudy, and typically ACC weather tells us if there is a significant wind, and 3 kilometer is a significant wind in ACC, that does mean that usually means, anyway, I should say, it's not always the case, of course, usually means that the weather is changing. Nice look at the grid as we are all lined up, all the drivers hoping for the same thing, a cleaner start and a cleaner race than 1 week ago. Mike Redford was apparently trying to do some self-promotion, but, Mike Redford, a streamer in his own right as well, and if you look at the wing of Mike Redford's car, you can find his, I believe, his Twitch handle. Mike, if I'm wrong about that, I do apologize, but I think you're a Twitch streamer. I could be getting my streamers mixed up, but always live, always streaming his RCI races. That's super cool to see. And ladies and gentlemen, that's RPMS, and that is an anime. It is certainly an anime of all time. I have no idea what that is. Look at that. Is that a new livery? I think it is. I don't ever recall seeing the red and silver car. I don't suppose that's a new entry, but perhaps a new livery. And if I am incorrect, I do apologize. Folks in chat picking their pony for the race. Got some Daily fans, some Redford, go Redfords in there as well. It's Chevy Central. I thought this said Cherry. I need to get my eyes checked. It's Chevy Central at the back, says Tom Watts. Yep, as as Kevin Boss and I figured out earlier this year, the Chevrolet, an interesting pick, not particularly the quickest pick, and one would only need to look at the grid to figure that out. Hey, Bubbins, voting for everyone. Fun fact, been busy with my holiday preparations around here and was sort of on the fence on if the stream was going to go through or not today. Bubbins actually messaged me and asked if there was a stream, and I decided, you know what? Come hell or high water, we're going to run this thing. And here we are. So part of the reason that we're streaming here today is because Bubbins asked if there was going to be a stream. Sometimes, and let's be a lesson to all you kids out there, sometimes asking politely gets you what you want. Car setting off on the grid. Keep in mind the track is fast. It can be a lot of different states, but fast is the second best. Of course, optimum being the best that there is. Will be interesting to see how everybody tackles basically the first 2 laps. It's going to be potentially rough because you've got really cold tires. GT4s take more time to heat up the tires than any other car. I mean, well, with the exception of the M2 perhaps, but for today's assignment, it's going to take a while. The track's not fast, so it's not going to be doing any favors. You're going to see some tail-out action here. Just hope you're not 2 and 3 wide while you're doing it. Well, Bubbins, we appreciate having you as well. As a matter of fact, anybody watching the broadcast this afternoon, this evening, welcome. And thank you for being a part of the RCI community. If you haven't already, subscribe to the RCI TV YouTube channel. Maybe leave a like as well. We're about to go racing here. 1 hour 20. 80 minutes of racing. A pit stop required here. Pit stop set up in such a fashion that if you're driving solo, you don't really gain an advantage because of the requirements. Normally, if you were not changing driver, you could gain an advantage with your pit stop, but due to the way the pit limitations, the regulations are set up, they have all but eliminated that sort of advantage by driving solo here, which you are allowed to do. Some predictions of carnage in the chat, some predictions of, actually some thoughts and prayers more than anything else there. Hopefully those thoughts and prayers work in this case. I think it's going to be okay. Turns 2 and 3, typically an issue, but these are GT4s. I don't suspect, because of the track being as big as it is, that we will see carnage here. Part of the reason that Brands Hatch was such a messy race with the cars we had was legitimately down to the narrow nature of Brands. Today, not really the point, not really the case. It does have choke points, of course, turn 2 and 3, some of those. Daly, Romania, your front row, 197 and the 229, fighting for a championship midway through the season. This will mark the midway point at the checkered flag today. Boss and Shipston, your front row for silver. Waiting for the lights. It takes an eternity. Over that line. That's not the right line, of course. That's the Formula One line. We use the GT line here, as we should do. The flagman waving. The green flag is out, and we are racing. It's a great start for Romaniak. Romaniak pulls out on Jordan Daly on the outside lane. Meanwhile, Eraser looking to get by all of them. Can't get through. Side by side into the corner. Contact. Romaniak off the track. Here comes Poe. Poe makes contact with Daly. Poe gets back in line. Eraser still looking to get around. Can't quite do it. And it's a couple of Mercedes. Romaniak and Poe now trying to get by Jordan Daly. Daly goes slightly wide. Defensive here in turns 6 and 7. Right up the back of him is Poe. Poe looking to the outside of the hairpin. Trying to do it Lewis Hamilton style. Can't do it. Down the inside now. Trying the old over over under, can't do it. Daly was able to keep his momentum and pulling very wide. Here is Daly, almost like he's playing CS. Swing wide, Jordan Daly. Poe, Romaniuk, Eraser, and Goat, your top 5. Duard and Redford. Tom Shipson has done Kevin Boss off the line, as no major incidents through the first couple of corners as we head down Aqua Minerale for the first time today, nearly single file until you get back to rows 12 and 13. Daly still under fire here. Poe looking up the inside. Daly on the defensive immediately for this part of the lap here. Over the curb, it's going to be contact again. Poe makes contact with Daly, forcing him off of the racetrack. No live stewarding, of course. That would have to be post-race. Daly's frustrated. He makes a little bit of contact with Romaniuk there. Eli Poe takes the lead of the race. Daly in one fell swoop goes from the lead down to third. Daly looking down to the inside now of Romaniuk. Unable to do it. Romaniuk just has the edge on him. Daly can't put a fender in there, and they're single file at the end of lap 1. Poe's your leader now. You can see in the mirror of Adam Romaniuk for Porcelain Racing, still side by side. But this time, unfortunately, with Eraser going backwards is Daly after setting the #1 qualifying time. He was running about 4th or 5th in practice on a dry track. Contact there between Daly and Eraser, and that's going to stack up the field behind him. That's Goat and Duard. Goat and Duard nearly make contact there as they think about going 3 wide. They think better of it. Oh, it's a huge move in the background from one of the cars. I thought genuinely that Duard was going to have a look. Now side by side, it's Goat and Eraser, and now Eraser up the inside of Daly. This is getting very tricky now as these cars fighting over 3rd place are losing even more positions. Not positions, they're losing time. They're definitely losing position on the racetrack, despite the fact not dropping a single one. Nice racing here as they end up side by side still. Daly just getting out horsepowered by some of these McLarens, if you ask me, and the Mercedes as well. Daly trying to cling on here, but it isn't going to plan. Poe has not gapped Romaniuk. The 2 Mercedes, the 2 AMGs, nose to tail out in front. But this is an all-out assault on the Porsche of Jordan Daly. Several cars getting it a little bit wrong there, and they've gotten it wrong indeed. Mike Redford has gotten past a couple of cars. Is he by Duard? Is he by Goat? I suspect he might be by both of them. He only got the one, but he's fighting for it to hold on to it. He got by Duard. Duard was the car that had the bad entry to the chicane. So NS Racing's Mike Redford is up a spot here. Meanwhile, in the background, Richard Whittle looking for a spot on Shipston has to fall back in behind the Chevrolet, the silver leading Chevrolet. Redford eventually loses that spot out. I think that tells you everything you need to know about the horsepower disparity in this race. Default BOP, of course. And just like life imitates art, I suppose, the Porsche left for dead on the massive straights here. Duard easily able to overtake Redford for that spot. Redford should have a small advantage here in the corners. In fact, has an advantage on the brakes as well, that Porsche. Using it to great effect. You see Daly in the blue Porsche in front of that group, continuing to stymie Eraser and Goat. Silver is now Shipston, Boss, and Manso. Zhao Manso up into 3rd spot. 20 cars took qualifying and have taken the green flag. No major incidents, a few argy-bargy ones though, but no live stewarding. Everything will be settled on the racetrack today and in stewarding throughout the weekend. Look at this line of cars here. Duard leading this line of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's hopeless, folks. It's 10 cars deep. Eli Poe finally starting to gap Romaniuk just a little bit. By just a little bit, I mean 2.5 tenths. So now it's gone down again. Romanek had a better exit of the final couple of corners and has gained all of that back. Meanwhile, Daly under assault here. Around the outside is a Razor. Who's going to be better on the brakes? That might determine who wins this fight. And it's Daly in the Porsche, but he's lost it. He's lost it. Sideways onto the curb. He goes over the baguettes, and he spun the car out. Triple R's Jordan Daly, sedentary, stopped on the infield grass into the sand. He tried to get all of that braking zone, but he hit the curb. Oh, and he bounced, and oh my goodness. You got a feel for him. An unfortunate set of events there. And your pole sitter, the 197 Jordan Daly, is out of this race. They have retired from this race, from the pole. You know, we have something of a pole sitter's curse here, you know. We're going to go 3 for 3 races that the pole sitter has not won the race. Daly might have outbraked himself, but he also hit that curb, which he really can't afford to do. It all started on the inside curb. Got airborne. He tried to save it, but he nailed the outside baguettes as well. That was real close. You knew it was going to be close between a Razor and Goat there. Just lucky there wasn't contact. This is quickly as the opening gap had nearly ballooned to a second. It has completely evaporated. Poe trying to continue to lead Romaniak. It is a very small lead now. 0.8 of a second erased in the past lap. Something's happened to Tom Shipston. I don't know if it's just because Shipston is stuck into this train, and that might be it. Duard, the cork in the bottle now. That has let Kevin Bosch, your pole sitter in silver, completely catch up to the back of this field. And perhaps more worryingly for Shipston, João Manso is also in tow in that Chevrolet. Kevin Bosch retaking the lead in the silver class after losing it in the initial start. And might this just be what Boss needs? Shipston and Manso now nose to tail. Could it be a fight brewing between those two cars? How does Boss handle Duard in front? The teammates coming out in chat now. Adam Carlisle in chat. We've got the Dot Sim Racing team. Everybody rooting for their friends and teammates now. You love to see it. I love to see it. Poe has now gapped Romaniak by a second here. It's the biggest lead he's had all race. Tom Shipston there, forced to let, I believe that was Silva. Forced to let Silva through. And might that put him under pressure from João Manso? I think it might. Manso tucks back in line. Manso getting a tow. Chevrolet versus Chevrolet. Equal V8s here. Shipston covers the inside, wisely so. And the corner's academic after that. Good defense there from Ground Zero's Tom Shipston. All of this allowing Kevin Bosch to disappear up the road. And in fact, he has. Nearly 3 seconds up the road is Kevin Bosch. After losing the pole position on the initial start, he has thundered back into the lead of silver in that ridiculous Audi that probably he is outperforming it right now. I don't know how many people would be brave enough to take the Audi. Well, I can tell you who. One, look at the field. It's not rocket science. There's only one of them. All the other cars are here, except, well, barring, of course, the Maserati. in the KTM, but there was a KTM in the series. They just retired. Close here through Aqua Minerale, a touch maybe between Varga and Roskim. But no major dramas there. I think a replay here. Something happened to Richard Whittle. That's Duard. Oh, bang! Richard Whittle's going to spin in front of the group. Oh, my goodness, and that's going to take out contact with Silva, I believe, as well after the fact. But Whittle and Duard, I'm pretty sure that is. And then Silva gets involved. Nowhere for Silva to have gone, to be fair. Oh boy, everybody making boss puns in the chat. Keep it up. You know Kevin Boss watches the stream back on repeat, and we don't disable the chat for that as well. We leave the chat on. I know a lot of the drivers like that. They love to see who was in chat, what they were saying about moves they made and all that. So get all your boss puns in there. He watches this back, I guarantee it. Eli Poe, after a huge stumble that let Romaniuk all the way back on him, the gap has completely ballooned now. 1.3, 1.4 seconds the gap now. 1.5 even at that timing line. Eli Poe's on it now. Is here a goat? Racing Team Solvaloo trying to stay in front of John Arazer. Goat was able to get around Arazer in the early melee. And now Razor wants to get back by Goat. All those drivers, all those teams fighting for championship honors. Or at least they likely will be in 3 races' time. Things have calmed down for the time being. Kevin Boss enjoys a 2.5-second lead over João Manso, who has taken that position. Tom Watts now in 3rd. Varga down in 13th place. Boss, Shipston, Manso, and Watts now your top 4 in the silver class. All those cars inside the top 10. Remember the collision with Silva. They were working their way up the silver field, trying to get closer to Redford and the pros, or the top half of the pros, I should say. Theobald Roscom has brought the 96 Aston to pit lane. Now that's a strange one. That's a very strange one because pit cycle is not open yet. It won't be for some time. This is an unscheduled stop for the Academy Motorsport livery 96 Aston. That's, of course, Rebound Racing is the team, the actual team entry. Academy Motorsport is the actual car. And they're retiring that car. Rebound Racing is retiring the 96. Something amiss there. Started with 20, down to 18. But because there wasn't a huge accident, the vast majority of the pack still very much together. Dorian Zodaway trying to battle off Silva here, who took a nasty lick in the front of that Mercedes. Let it be known, Jordan Daly has registered his frustration. And I suppose that's exactly what you can expect, what you should expect. Angry about the outcome. Oh, contact there. Was that Silva making contact with the back of Zotaway, or was that Whittle? Silva flashing the lights like it might have been Whittle here. Let's take a look. It was Whittle. I think Whittle's trying to give the spot back, or he certainly is. But that has released Jorian Zodaway. Much to their enjoyment. The 73 Porsche no longer under attack. Kevin Boss's lead very much in threat now. 2.5 seconds it was, down to 1.3 seconds. Boss to Shipston, which is really, really impressive considering Zhao Manso still on the back of Shipston for P2 in the silver class. Chap Random, or as I know him, Random Chap, saying that Boss was having a rough time earlier today over on his stream at Crash Neck on Twitch. Glad to see he's doing great here. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more with that. Had a couple of not so stellar LFMs, did the Mr. Kevin Boss, known as Crash Neck on Twitch. Ash Bibby getting into the getting into the bossoning, the bossa nova of Imola. Daily in chat explaining the plight of the Porsche. I think that was very obvious to see there, Mr. Daly. I mean, it's so, it's obvious when I pointed it out in the stream. I'm an expert by no means. Here's the state of it for silver. 0.2 of a second, Boss to Shipston. Shipston's had the lead. He's lost it. He needs to get it back here. He can't afford to make a move wrong. Zhao will get involved and take P2 of his own. Very close racing here. All three of the podium contenders in silver racing for the lead here. 18 minutes into this race, and if they don't settle this quickly, Tom Watts in the 42, they will be involved in this fight. It'll be a four-way battle. While they're feeling each other out here, trying to probe for weakness, as it were, take the time to thank some of our partners here at RCI, AK Esports. For more information on how they can help you with your esports series coming up, go to akesports.it for more information about that. They certainly help us a lot around here, and we couldn't be more thankful to AK Esports for their help. Of course, Digital Motorsports, your one-stop shop for all the top hardware from all the top brands. Doesn't matter if you're looking just for a new rim or a whole new rig, they have it for you over at Digital Motorsports. They'd love to help you out. Try out their SimRig Builder. You know how you go to like a home improvement app and they help you decide what paint color or what sort of wall hangings and stuff to have. Well, that's it at Digital Motorsports, except it's SimRigs. Build the SimRig of your budget or your dreams. DigitalMotorsports.com. While you're there, after you get your sim rig, you're going to need some setups from Go Setups. Everybody's raving about Go Setups these days. For a lot of people, it's and I'm not. This is not just me saying this. This is genuine. For a lot of people, it's a Go Setup or nothing. These days, they find them to be the most reliable. GoSetups.com. Use our affiliate link whenever you make a purchase. Thank you so much. Doing that helps us pay server costs. Well, this is one time that these drivers, I don't feel like these drivers need driver 61. They're doing an excellent job. But if you're looking to race like the pros, maybe get more competent, get more consistent maybe, or just pick up some lap time in general, take a few pointers, Driver 61 is your destination for driver coaching. One-on-one driver coaching and full-on racing schools over at driver61.com. And last but not least, Fanatec, of course, the leader in direct drive sim racing hardware. Got some Black Friday deals going on right now, by the way. Keep seeing them drop new deals and stuff, so go check them out at fanatec.com. please use our link in the description when you make a purchase. It, again, helps us with server costs when you do that. But all sorts of things over there on sale right now. Bundles at fanatec.com. Kevin Boss has certainly held off Tom Shipston. Shipston caught him in a hurry, but has since been unable to make the conversion. Also doing a really good job of just sticking the car where he needs it to be. Shipston doesn't seem to be in any hurry here. That's a veteran tactic by Tom Shipston. He's also not getting heavy pressure from Manso behind because Manso's also a veteran. Manso gets it. If Shipston opens up the door on Boss with how close that Manso is, he might be able to get a spot as well. Manso's got to like his chances against Shipston. He's stayed with him this entire time, even when he was catching Kevin Boss. So you got to like the pace of Manso here as well. Bachman in a rally that time, a little sloppier from Boss that time. That's going to allow Shipston to his outside. No bother. Covered off on the inside. Was out of contact with Shipston and Manso. No harm, no foul there. Bunching up in the queue to get through the chicane. Silva has made their way around Varga. They've made their way around Watts. And while that's not concerning for the moment, it might be, because keep in mind the reason Boss is off the racetrack. Boss is off of the racetrack. He's going to go first to third in one single corner. That allows Tom Shipston back to the lead. Shal Manso gets through. Kevin Boss trying to pick up the pieces. Trying the over-under on Manso this time. Deking out of the draft, unable to get a line on the powerful V8 of that Chevy. But can he outbrake him here? He's down to the inside. Manso gives him room. Boss over the curb. Manso goes wide in the second part. They nearly come together. It's an offset line for both of them, and they're still just about side by side. Who's going to be the last of the late breakers? It's going to be Kevin Boss. Maybe a little bit of contact, maybe some accident avoidance. A little bit too wide that time. Couldn't get it wound up for wheelie slow, and Manso takes possession of that position. Shipston's loving it in the rearview mirror. His rivals, with whom he's been so close in this race, fading in the background as they race each other, and Shipston scampers away. A lot of really close racing here, but a lot of good racing, you have to say. A polar opposite, if you will, of Brands Hatch. A race that not a lot of people were impressed by, including the drivers. This has been quite the opposite of that. Really good side-by-side. I think a lot of that is down to the track, of course. Can't really fault Brands Hatch for being Brands Hatch. Some good racing nonetheless, and this is what I was talking about. If they didn't get it settled, Silva was going to catch them all, and then what would Silva do? But this is actually the better situation for Silva. He can get by Boss here, and if Boss is smart about this, he might make it easy on Silva. By that I mean not stopping, but just sort of letting him have the inside. Go up there and fight Manso, fight Shipston, catch them back up, and do the same thing he did earlier on where he took the lead, Kevin Boss could do. But we'll see. Azure Goat, by the way, has the quickest lap of the race. The Racing Team Solvalu car, who was so quick in round number 1 at the Nürburgring. Feel like that team ran out of steam at the end of that race, rather unfortunately. Triple R the winner there, of course, but we're so quick was Goat in that race, showing that pace here again today. That's for certain. Wasn't slow by any means at Brands, but clearly wasn't quite at the pace as they were at the Nürburgring, but back to form here today. Oh, contact! 2 or 3 of them there, nearly turning the BMW of Varga. Tom Watts trying to make the move. Oh, it's going to be a bad accident here as they all slide through Acqua Minerale. Oh, and it's a self-spin here. Looking in the mirror maybe for Varga. He saves it. They're still side by side. This is absolutely incredible. Duard and Watts still in it. How on earth did everybody save that and keep it from going backwards? 3 cars completely out of character in Acqua Minerale. All 3 of them save it. Insanity here. And somehow Peter Varga kept in front. Was he mirror driving, realizing, thinking he was going to get wiped out? He might have done. Excellent saves by the 32 and the 42. But yeah, just out of line for Varga, I'm pretty sure. He just sort of missed his entry point, gassed it up, and got sideways. Huge saves, though, you have to say, by Duard and Watts. Huge saves. A lunge by Duard, to be fair. But the save, oh, more contact here between Watts and Duard. Tom Watts is eventually going to win that battle after the mini contacts. Watts up to 11th now. Perhaps I should say down to 11th, of course, because Varga's gotten through. Watts was running 4th, now 5th in the class. The Full Tank Racing 42. Is that even the team name I have for them, for their sign up for this? No, it isn't. It's Dropping the Hammer. So the in-game name is not what we use in this case. So that's not the Full Tank Racing team. That's Dropping the Hammer that he's racing for. Things calm down for the moment. Everybody in chat, get your breath, get your breath. Breathe in, breathe out. Woo! Hectic racing here. Pit cycle still to come up. Everybody will be required to do a mandatory stop. Mandatory stop set up in a way as to not give single racers an advantage here. Duard back around Watts here on the front straight. Tom Watts getting McLaren. Duard will say thank you very much. He's got a score to settle, of course, I'm sure. Duard not anywhere where we would normally expect them to be. Duard's a top 5 driver most days for G League Esports. Obviously, the contact and the incidents thus far has put them back here. Racing silvers, not really something that was on his agenda immediately. Talked about Azir Goat and Team Sovalu being quick. Well, they're threatening Romaniak for P2 right now. Clearly, the fastest car on the racetrack is Team Sovalu. Meanwhile, Porcelain Racing's Adam Romaniak in a weird position here, if I do say so myself, fighting for the championship. Team Porcelain is leading the championship coming into today. And even with the 69 winning, could very possibly would still be leading the championship if they give up that spot, and in fact they have. Porcelain Racing knowing what's on the line here. Romaniak knowing P2 is not nearly as important as getting a podium. No threat anywhere else for the moment. John Eraser 7.5 back. We'll see if that becomes an issue at some point. Right now, Smart Racing, Team Sovalu, trying to get themselves in a championship contending position as well. Smart driving by all in that situation, if you ask me. You didn't, but I'm on the mic, so you did. Marco Ficuscio for Squadra Corsa. The Venezia Giulia car. That might be the most interesting Chevrolet I have seen in some time, and possibly the most Italian Camaro I have ever seen being flashed by Ted Edwards, should we all be so lucky. A quiet qualifying and a quiet race for Ted Edwards today. Very unusual as well. Running 16th. Cormac reckons GOAT has had some sort of issue. We're going to attempt to... Oh, excuse me, Ted Edwards, not GOAT. Ted Edwards has had an issue, and there it is. Absolutely well done. What a pro broadcaster gets you, folks. I'm talking about Tom Watts, in fact. That's gonna rankle just a little bit. RCI staff on RCI staff there, folks. Get your popcorn out. Goat made the pass. Looked like Adam Romaniak just sort of let him have that spot, but unable in the last lap to pull away is Team Silvalou on Porcelain Racing. Just hasn't been... They caught them. Caught them quite well, quite quickly, after everything settled out. And now losing time to Poe. Music to Poe's ears. You see flashing through the shot there. The 69. Talk about cars getting back into the championship. If they finish like this, which obviously 47 minutes left of racing to go, but if they were to finish like this, folks, this would create a rat's nest at the top of the championship standings. Talk about the 69 of Luna Rossa winning. Silvalou finishing second, and your championship leader Porcelain finishing third. We would have an anybody's championship, a toss-up, if you will, halfway into the series. What more could you ask for? No decided favorite in this series as well. Different winners, both races thus far. Looking like we could potentially have a third different team win in as many races. Very exciting stuff. Tom Shipston had pulled a 3-second gap, and in fact already it still has a 3-second gap as they come over the timing and scoring to João Manso. I was going to comment, I thought Manso had the pace to keep with Shipston, but it hasn't been the case. I just thought João might have been closing Tom Shipston down, but as eagerly as I was going to say that, it isn't coming to pass, though. It's now back down to 2.8. Playing a little bit of a cat and mouse are the two leaders in the silver class. Kevin Boss is falling back. They're third right now, but that's not the issue. The issue is Varga, who is fourth in that class and only 1.5 off of them in his closing. That 508 BMW, the Team Monkey racing car, definitely closing the wheelie slow car down. Pit window open, and the first taker is Zotaway in the 73 car. And that was the luck of the draw. Perhaps a bit unlucky if you think about it, considering they were able to hit it so quickly because they were at the back of the field, but an advantageous pit stop nonetheless for Zotaway in the 73. The Buffalo Stampede car down to the attention of the team. required service will be completed, and hopefully without any penalties or issues. But they were in immediately, within 10 seconds of the pit window opening. Brilliant heads-up call by the Stampede team. I have no idea why they're called Buffalo Stampede, by the way. I know a lot of the lore behind the team names. Buffalo Stampede's not one of them. I believe they're a Dutch racing team, but I have no idea. Oh, and they've retired, look. The 73 car has retired from this race. The 23, Duard, into the pit lane. Buffalo Stampede has retired from the race while sitting in the pit box, while presumably completing regular pit stop service. I have literally no idea why that would have happened. Very strange indeed. That is the second car we've lost today that was sitting in their pit box when they retired. You know, if this was iRacing, you'd almost be thankful they returned to the garage before they did that, I suppose, but very strange. Normally, when somebody's going to retire, they just tow immediately. But no, two cars driven back to pit road. Now, I have no idea why they would have retired that 73. I mean, they were out of position. Contact for Tom Watts maybe here. Oh, yeah, you betcha. Oh, and it spins the Porsche. How many times do we see contact where the inside car is the one that pays for it? That wasn't Whittle. That was the other Porsche he was racing with. Very Portuguese colors on that car as well. Oh. Oh. Okay. That explains a lot more. So the 73 of Zodaway did not drive into the pit lane immediately. They happened to teleport to the pit lane as soon as the pit window opened after the contact with Tom Watts. So that explains a lot and completely ruined my previous point, but would rather have the facts there. That Stampede Racing retired after contact there. So often the inside car pays the heaviest price, and it definitely did there. 1.3 seconds down to, we'll call it 2/3 of a second. Actually, not even that. Closer to a half now. Lawson Varga. Duarte has completed their stop. They're back out clean. No issues on pit lane. And the reason I bring this up, folks, we have had it be an issue in the past in this series. Cars getting pit road speeding penalties and all that. Radu in the 63 Chevrolet. QV Motorsports car, Arrow. Radu installed into the car. No issues there. Richard Whittle. I suspect that's not Richard Whittle. I believe that's the other Whittle now in the 957. Unless Richard has just gotten the car and I've been Houdini'd. Nevertheless, no issues there on pit lane. No, it is Keith. It is Keith Whittle in the car. I've not been Houdini'd on this occasion. Mom, get the camera. Whittle's Wizards now. Down and gone. They were unable to, well, no match for Duard out in front. Of course, Whittle in the wars here in the middle of the pack in the start of the race. Leader of the race into the pit lane, Eli Poe. Down and gone. Tom Watts, João Manso in the pit lane as well. Azir Goat for Solvalu takes the lead for the time being. Clean stop for Eli Poe. No issues there. Kevin Boss continues to lead Varga by a tiny margin here. At this point, Kevin Boss has to force Varga down the pit lane. Boss cannot pit and release the 508. Team Monkey Racing knows that, and that's why they're contesting this. They're trying to get by him and then immediately pit. They also could throw a curveball here and pit right now and force Boss to come down pit lane a lap early next time through. These are all strategies you could employ. It's all about what you think the most advantageous one is at the time. Will anybody pit? It looks like Boss is leaning towards the lane. Oh, no, absolutely not. Just taking the defensive line, trying to see what Varga was going to do. No movement from Team Monkey. Wheelie slow. Still leads them for what is P2 now, but will in all likelihood end up being P3 after the stops are completed. Ted Edwards, Facuccio into the pit lane. Or Facuto, excuse me. Prosciutto? I don't know. I'm really horrible with Italian names. Sorry. I can do Greek names, though. Which you think would be harder, wouldn't you? But how my brain works. Boss now with a little bit of a gap on Varga. Is now the lap if you're Kevin Boss, since you have pulled just a tiny gap here. If you're able to maintain this for the second half of the lap, do you come in then? Would you consider it? We're about to find out this time through as they come down through the chicane. A little bit closer there is Varga now. A lot closer now is Varga. Adam Romaniuk for Porcelain Racing into the pit lane. Pitting out of P2 as your goat continues on. John Eraser also in. Mike Redford into the pit lane. They can't go another lap. They'll have to come in this lap. All these cars have to come in this lap. That includes Boss and Varga. Here's Shipston for ground zero, pitting out of the lead in silver. Silva's in, of course. They all have to come in. The only one that could stretch it and do an extra lap was Azir Goat. Azir was the only one that could do it, and they have done it. Team Sovalu out there by themselves, essentially. They will have to come in this time. They've got 50 seconds. That should be enough, barring a mistake. You always put yourself at danger when you wait as late as possible. If you have a spin, hit a curb wrong, and you're on it too because you're trying to make the best in lap, it is super easy to do. John Eraser, everybody releasing from pit lane. No penalties here. Eraser, Poe, Redford. Well, actually, Redford's not out yet. Romaniuk is, though. No issues on pit lane. It's been quite some time since RCI's had a race here where there hasn't been a speeding penalty or anything on pit lane like that. What happens here? Is this a potential issue? No, it's just real close. Oh, he bumps him. He bumps him into the pit lane. That is so very close for Team Monkey Racing. And in fact, Dabont installed into the 508 now in front of them. No penalty, though, for Kevin Boss. It's so easy to give somebody a penalty doing that, bumping into the pit lane. But he hasn't. It is going to be, and there it is, a stop and go for the 44 of Foster. And the streak remains unbroken. The McFly RPMS Sim Sport car has got a stop and go for speeding in the pit lane. By the way, Azir Goat did make it to the pit lane on time. No issues there with stint limit or pit cycle violations. Azir will get out of the car, give way to their teammate, who will take it for the final 33 minutes by the time they get out of the lane. Oh my goodness. What on earth just happened there? I looked away for a second. DeBont. Was that a send from Kevin Boss? Helicopter cam replay. Heading up to the top of the circuit. Oh my goodness, it was a send and a half. Well spotted by Martin DeBont. Able to hit the brakes. Kevin Boss obviously doesn't mean to do that. Immediately lets him back through before they get to Acqua Minerale. That was a forfeit of a position, but also an apology from Wheelie Slow's Kevin Boss. Doesn't have his teammate this week. His teammate not available. Usually racing in a pair, but today having to do it all by himself. Will get bonus points for pole position, of course. But would surely like a podium to top it all off. That'd be a gigantic check mark in the box for Kevin Boss this week. But unfortunately, has surrendered the position to DeBont, not DeBont and Boss. Can't get confusing, I do apologize. But here's how it all shakes out. Eli Poe leads Romaniuk by 5 seconds. Kalmari now installed in the Solvalou car, 1.5 behind in third place again. Was it an excellent stop from Romaniuk, or was it a slow stop for Solvalou? Don't know. One of the two has occurred. Romaniuk now back out in front. Poe enjoys a 5-second lead. Foster still hanging on to that stop and go 30. That works like a drive-through. You've got 3 laps to come in and serve that. They appear to be going long here. Does the 44. They give you 3 laps, might as well use them. But you will have to serve it at some point. If you do not serve it, you will get a disqualification, I'm pretty sure, immediately. And what a rotten day it's been for Diago Silva for Green Team EV. That is a track limits drive-through penalty. You get 3 warnings, and on the 4th time violating the track limits, you receive a drive-through, and he's turning towards his box. I suspect Green Team is about to retire from this race. Fight's still on for P3 here, you know. Boss up the inside, not covered off by DeBont. DeBont lets him have it. What on earth is going on here? DeBont doesn't cover the inside and just gives Boss the position there. Not teammates. They may not even know each other very well, to be honest. Very interesting tactics there by Team Monkey Racing. Now going back around the outside. Oh, dear Lord. Ash Bibby has donated £5 to the RCI TV channel, and they have requested a French ooh-woo, please. Oh, good Lord. How would that even work? You have to give me a second. I'm going to have to figure out how that would work. Right now, Kevin Boss holding on to P3. All right, I think I got it. As requested by Ash Bibby, for £5 directly to the RCI server cost. That's the best I got. I would like to apologize to every single person in France, the French language, Paris in particular, everybody in general, really. Anybody with ears, I do apologize. Kevin Boss getting outran into the braking zone and has to forfeit there. But look at this, the 23 of Duard trying to make their way through. 1 contact, 2 contact there that time. The race is getting chippy. It started that way. and it has continued to be a very chippy race. Hit for tat, if you will. GT4 is not quite like a GT3 car, of course. They can take a few more hits. Kevin Boss, though, furious, pressing the flasher button. If you're watching over at Crashneck on Twitch, where he's streaming live, I imagine there was some profanity that fell out of him. Martin Foster's in the pit lane for the stop-and-go 30. I was correct, by the way, that the Varga car with the drive-through penalty was going to retire. They have done, down to 16 cars. Martin Foster in for their stop-and-go 30. I don't think they're retiring, by the way, that 44, because I think they would have done it by now, but they are stopped in their box for the stop-and-go. Bailey and Ash reacting to my French uwu. Once again, I would like to apologize to the country of France, to the French people. Well, the day didn't start off. Chicane with the bump. He's getting closer to the top 10, getting more Ted Edwards-like, if you will. Running 7th in his class, and just behind Deward. And when I say just behind, I mean about 5 seconds behind. You get my drift? Here is Deward working on DeBaugh. DeBaugh not fighting the pro car, just letting him go. But will he be held up in the braking zone? Not really. Boss does close in nonetheless. "27 minutes left in the race." We had rain in qualifying. The drivers only got one non-wet lap in. Didn't rain immediately, but it did start falling on the out lap, so they got one dry lap in, and then the track started to get progressively wetter, turned into a rainstorm of sorts near the end of qualifying. So the one-shot qualifying, quite interesting, as that completely shook up the field. Weather's not come into play here. We started on a fast racetrack. It was 30 degrees C, the track temp. It's fallen by 2 degrees. But we're still mostly to partly cloudy. The wind has picked up, though. But it obviously, we will not have any inclement weather here today as we're inside the final 30 minutes. Curious how much that wind is playing into the cars right now down the pit straight, and why we're seeing such massive leaps by some of the cars. I know it's a long old way to draft, but even still, some of these passes have looked a bit odd. Usually you see that sort of thing whenever there's an adverse wind. Richard Hutchins is going to go pay Crashneck, or Kevin Boss as we call him around here, a visit. Richard, if you're listening, tell him to drive faster. Let him know that we said that. Eli Poe, by the way, has taken the fastest lap of the race. They've done that about 5 minutes ago or so. It's been a few minutes since they've done it, but they are the fastest car on the racetrack right now, and that's post-pit stop as well. They've taken that off of the Solvalou team. All going to plan for Luna Rossa Racing here today. Off of the racetrack there for Kevin Baugh. Nothing comes of it. Close, scrappy race close, crappy. I'm just gonna retake that line because we're not live. Close, scrappy race between these two. You'd have to say. Definitely not crappy. Could go to crap quite quickly, though, if one of them makes a mistake. Richard really went into... Dude, Mr. Hutchins, thank you so much for... Actually, I have photographic confirmation that Mr. Hutchins went in to Crash Next Stream and did exactly as instructed. That is a gold star for Richard Hutchins today. My personal thanks to you for Oh my goodness. Okay, and I can't repeat what Kevin Boss said back to me. I will say, however, you know, if you drove faster, you wouldn't have to threaten me with that. Big shout out to Mr. Bibby for the assist on that one, the confirmation and all that. Hutchins, you absolute legend. Thanks for doing that. Thanks for the proof as well, Ash, on that one. That's quite entertaining. Gotta make your own fun sometimes, even if it's heckling the drivers, which we don't recommend. We don't condone that here. I'm picking on Kevin Boss because he's a friend of mine and often a teammate. Well, not often, sometimes a teammate. And I love him to death. Lovely human being, that Kevin Boss. But he really does need to go faster. I think we can all agree. Speaking of going faster, Romantic was quicker that lap versus Poe. It's still 5.1. It was 5.2 seconds the gap the last time through the beam. Light progress, perhaps, for the 229. Gonna have to step it up, though, for Porcelain, but it's going to plan. I think we could all agree for Porcelain here. If Porcelain finishes P2, which they are looking like they're going to do, they will obviously hold on to the championship lead. It'll bring Luna Rossa Racing into it. Solvalou will be a close third. Hold on, chat. Am I doing the math? It'll be close. It'll be close between the top three. I can guarantee that. Well, before we finish up today's broadcast, the final 20 or some minutes left to go, I'm going to take a small step away. Just a couple of us here on the box, just winging it here on a Wednesday. We're glad to have you with us regardless, but because of that, I'm going to take a small break, and I will be right back here to cover the final 20 minutes or so. Until then, enjoy the sights, the sounds of the Wednesday champ, and this lovely V8 noise of the Camaro. We'll be right back. Well, you saw it live there between Squadra Corsa and the Tom Watts car, the number 42 of Dropping the Hammer Racing. No real contact between those two cars, but definitely the Tom Watts car, the Dropping the Hammer car, off of the racetrack while Marco was trying to make the pass for Squadra Corsa. Par for the course today. Unfortunately, we've seen that happen on more than a few occasions. Meanwhile, these cars still fighting each other, actually now fighting each other again for the second or third time. Chat, I'm going to be completely real with you. I've lost count. They've been like this a couple of times here today. João Manso was 3 seconds adrift of Tom Shipston's Ground Zero Racing number 60 earlier on, but has now eliminated that gap. It is all to play for here for the silver win today. This wouldn't be a humongous thing for Ground Zero to finish second here if Wheelie Slow is going to finish third or fourth, so it's not the biggest deal as the top two cars in the championship. This would be, however, huge for RPMS and João to win this race. This would catapult them into almost a dead tie for the championship lead, and if it were to finish Manso, Shipston, Boss, it would be the same scenario as we're seeing in the pro class. You would have half of the season done in 3 cars just about deadlocked at the top. If Shipston wins this race, Shipston's going to start to have a little bit of a lead in the championship. And isn't that crazy how it swings so wildly? If Manso only wins this race, if Manso only makes up 1 spot and he's off in the dirt right there. By the way, as we were going away, we were making light of Kevin Boss in his mega defense of P3. Jordan Daly, who is the best salesman I've ever known, says, well, if Kevin Boss needs to learn to go faster, where could he? And he did it himself. Driver 61. Absolutely the case. Maybe show Driver 61 the race back and get some tips, some one-on-one of how to do a better line, better lap time, more consistent. Who knows? But you've done it for me, Daly, so I didn't actually have to do it that time. You absolutely nailed it. Checks in the mail daily, just so you know. That's a joke for legal reasons. Of course, Tom Shipston trying to take the Hot Wheels car to victory lane here today. Trying to do that for the 3rd time on the trot, but has a tall order in front of him, or shall I say behind him. João's got all the time in the world here, really. As long as his tires don't burn off that car. He has all the time in the world here. 13 minutes is an eternity for Shipston to defend. Most of us do it for 5 minutes and it feels like an hour's gone by. Imagine what this must feel like. Poe and Romaniuk up in front. 5 seconds apart. Kalmari 7 seconds behind them. No threat from Eraser, who's a further 8 seconds behind. Mike Redford completes the top 5. Those all pro cars. Then it's this lot. Shipston, who has caught Redford and is in a little bit of a bottleneck situation with João Manso behind. Those are the top 2 in that class. Something's happened, by the way, to Martin DeBon. DeBon, who was on the back of Kevin Boss, is now nearly 4 seconds off of the 31, the Wheelie Slow car, and Ted Edwards has gotten inside the top 10. They've gotten around him. Was that merely Ted trying to, or not trying, was that merely Ted converting the position that lost DeBon all that time? Or was there something prior to that? We don't know. But that is the facts. The battle for 3rd broken up. The battle for P1 and silver, though, very much well and truly on. RPMS up the inside, stymied by the Porsche there. They're going to be neck and neck here equal machinery, but the better run, the better line to Zhao Manso. Shipston can't come over all the way because he's there. Neck and neck, side by side, down into turn number 1. Last of the late breakers. Who's going to have it? They both get braked up really nicely in that corner, and they're going to exit side by side. It's a ballet now. Shipston fighting back onto the outside here. An excellent driving here until they make a tiny bit of contact. No issue there. RPMS is going to get out in front, and Eli Poe's just stacked it. Eli Poe, the leader of the race, has just had a crash, still having a crash in the Aqua Minerale corner, in fact. Working lap traffic here. Is it the lap traffic that has an issue? Poe trying to go the inside of the lap car and hard into the wall. Ladies and gentlemen, the leader of the race has had a crash exiting Aqua Minerale, and this is high drama. Absolutely incredible scenes. What do you make of that? Romania goes to the lead in the 229. Your championship leader in the lead again. Poe in second place with massive front damage. Calmari for Porcelain. Oh, excuse me. Calmari, my apologies. Calmari for Solvalou. Only 1.3 behind now. This race has completely turned on its head in the final 10 minutes. Zhao leading in silver, Poe stacking it in pro. And we've got a double lead change inside the final 10 minutes. And if you've ever wondered why I enjoy doing these Wednesday casts, it's stuff like that. Insane twist of fortune here for both classes. As good as Manso's been for RPMS, Shipston has not allowed him to get away. The Ground Zero car clearly still fighting for this. Clearly still with a shot. Calmari now. 1 second behind Poe for P2. P2 now for Solvalou in the 765. So important. If the 69 won it, not so much of a big deal. But with Porcelain out in front, Solvalou really needs to have P2 here. And they can have it. That 69 car. Luna Rossa Racing, very damaged. Huge frontal impact. Contact with a lap car. And now in the silver class, leading RPMS, driving the Anime car. Not the actual team name, it's the team name I've given them, because that is Anime. I think we can all agree on that car. I do like a team that paints up their cars very interestingly indeed. Two of them on display right here for the lead in silver. Oh my goodness, bucking Bronco for Zhao Manso that time. Didn't lose time doing it. Proving that Americans still know how to make the softest suspension in the world. It's all about what lane you choose here between these two cars. You see them ducking and diving. Poe massively damaged. Ash Bibby confirming that car is toast. I don't see how they can hang on to P2 at this rate. It might be about preserving third for Luna Rossa at this point. Another half second gone. Calmari gaining on Poe. Romanic driving into the distance. You know, it's Thanksgiving tomorrow here in the USA. We don't usually give gifts for Thanksgiving. We usually start that immediately after the Thanksgiving holiday. But Team Porcelain was given a gift here today. And beyond that, they're feasting on it. Looking to get a second win, 2 in a row for Porcelain. It was a devastating round number 1 at the Nürburgring. They've all but erased that from their memory. And here it is, Sovalu racing Ludarasa. Look at the damage on that Mercedes. Catastrophic. Mentioned earlier, a GT4 car is less aero dependent. The damage matters less, but it still matters. And it matters quite a bit when you hit the wall that hard. Over 100 kilometers an hour, I would estimate, into that wall. Thereabout. Eli Poe still contesting this position, though. Did not pull over for Kalmari. Doesn't have anything to lose here, if you consider, for Poe. They're able to hold off Kalmari. They get decent points. And fastest lap, of course. Bear that in mind. Several bonus points for getting that. Make Kalmari pass you is the Luna Rossa way right now. Speaking of, Manso leading Shipston. Shipston still trying to figure out a way to get beside him. That's all it took for Manso. Manso was able to get beside him in the penultimate turn, drag race him down the pit straight, and beat him into 1. Shipston can do the same theoretically, but he's got to stay close through here, and he, in a perfect world, would hope for a little bit of a mistake from Zhao. But that hasn't happened here. Just a couple of more opportunities to make this pass, to even have an opportunity to be side by side here. Not close enough for a genuine maneuver. Zhao knows that. No defensive line for RPMS that time. Not necessary. Do not compromise your exit. He doesn't, but he's digging behind him. Tom Shipston, the ground zero car, digging off the corners, digging up dirt. Trying to stay in front, trying to maintain. Meanwhile, Mike Redford in the pro class has caught the back of him. That's a conundrum for Mike. Over at Mike Racing on Twitch, I'm pretty sure. What does Mike do? I don't envy Redford right now. He's not really going to go up there and catch the cars in front, is he? 25, 26 seconds in front of him. But at the same time, you're a racer, so what do? The NS Racing driver might be flummoxed here. Certainly getting onto the back of him here. And here it is, down the straight, the drag race. It's a little contest. Kalmari up into P2. Poe still contesting this position, of course, but a little bit of contact there from Poe. He's making it difficult, is Eli Poe. Sideways off of every corner. That's part of the damage done to the car. You're not making downforce, so when you get back on the throttle where you normally would do, all of a sudden the back is not stable. Front sliding around as well. Looks like Kalmari has it now. But I've spoke too soon before. final moments here in round 3 of the Wednesday Team Championship. Glad you're with us. And if you've just joined us, man, when this VOD goes up, just watch it back. It has been a crazy, crazy race. We're super happy to have been able to bring it to you. Massive effort by Bibby and Cormac behind the scenes here today to make this happen, as they do every Wednesday thus far in this championship. So a big thank you to them. Big thank you to Ash Bibby for the £5 donation. Not so much a thank you for making me say ooh-woo, but I'll do it. I'll do it for the love of the game. DeMont now, who looked to be a threat for P3. The shoe is on the other foot here late. Marco trying to get by him for P4. Leader is on the last lap of the race. Romanic has taken the white flag. The white flag in America means 1 to go. Not that there's a stricken call on the racetrack. Of course, it's not saying there might not be at the end of this one. Hoping not, though. And with the leader on the last lap, that means these drivers for silver, for the win, are also on the last lap. One more time, one more opportunity. Close here is Tom Shipston. Is he going to send it? He's looking down to the inside, menacingly. Can't do it. Falls back in line, living in the mirror of João Manso, who's been calm, cool, and collected this entire time for RPMS. Planted exit by both cars there. Shipston slightly wider. That might have been worth a little extra speed, but the straight here is not straight. Oh, and it's contact. It's contact between Kalmari and Poe. They've made contact getting into the chicane. No, they haven't. They've made contact exiting Aqua Minerale, and I suspect they've made a second contact in the chicane for them to have exploded together away from each other off of the curb. Oh, it was a single car incident in the end. Eli Poe over the curb. But for Romaniac, it's an easy win in the end. They ran P2 for the majority of the race. Adam fought for it, and it's deserved for Porcelain Racing as they win their second race on the trot here in the Wednesday Champ. Kalmari P2. Poe does get home for P3 just in front of John Arazer, and these two fighting to the last. But it's going to be RPMS and João Manso who takes home the win, who stops the ground zero dominance in the 222. João Manso and RPMS win it in silver. Ground zero and Tom Shipston P2. Redford, Duward, and Edwards coming across the line here. Some of these drivers have had quite a boring affair today, unaware of the chaos and drama around them. Some of them have had a day full of Vietnam flashbacks to 1 week ago. They will come across the line. Kevin Boss will take home third in the class, and you got to say, perhaps a gold star for him. Pole position in third. And I think you can equate how Ted Edwards feels about his Porsche race car around here based on that. Marco comes home in fourth place. We will show you the confirmed results of the race here today. Romaniac wins it over Kalmari and Poe. The drivers nearing the top of the championship standings, all of them inside the top 5. They add more points to their pile. Porcelain Racing will maintain their championship lead here. G-League and Triple R are going to fall down the order a little bit, I'm pretty sure. I'm certain of that, actually, looking at it. And that will certainly promote Sovalu and Luna Rossa up there quite a bit. João Manso wins it over Shipston and Boss. Cuscio, Watts, DeBont, Foster, Radu, your drivers here. Radu, of course, not finishing, and I believe Foster also didn't finish. Eli Poe with the quickest lap for the 69. That gives Luna Rossa bonus points as well. What a race it was. What an event we had here today. Couple of things before we sign off here today. Just once again, a big thank you to our partners that make this race and every race possible. Visiting them via the links in the description of the video help us immensely. It lets them know that we sent you. And when you make purchases, whether that be setups, wheels, accessories, whatever it may be, that helps us with things like server costs. So thank you very much for doing so. Wasn't quite the Brands Hatch race, where it was a full-on WWE match. Today, more subtle, a lot more racing, a lot more rubbing, and a couple of surprises. 2 lead changes, 1 in each class, inside the final 10 minutes. A good watch for sure. A cleaner race, but a bumpier one for some. We started with 20, we ended with 16 cars. It was a fun race to cast, and it was lovely to have all of you with us here on RCI TV today. Of course, we'll be back with you on Saturday for Night Owl in its regularly scheduled place and time. That's our next broadcast. And of course, Monday, the continuation of the Janetta Cup. Will we see you next Wednesday? I don't know. Wednesday is the mystery stream day. Maybe we're here. Maybe we are not. Can't tell you till we get there. I sure hope so, the way this championship has hotted up. Folks, on your way out, if you wouldn't mind leaving a like on the video and subscribing if you haven't already, we would greatly appreciate that. Wow, what a race. What a surprise. And what racing we have seen today. On behalf of everybody here at RCI, I've been Jesse Lee, joined by Cormac Malloy and Ash Bibby. Thank you all for watching, and have a good night.